We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
I'm back.
Anywhere you meet me, guaranteed to go down.
I like the way you ride with that booty on me.
It's going down.
Go down while you looking lonely.
It's going down.
Come around and it's all on me.
Anywhere you meet me, guaranteed to go down.
So, new year, new intro. Let's get it. I'm not so sure if I'm going to promise to be a brand new me this year, but my reactions are going to be a lot differently. I'm not going to be doing the most. I'm not going to be doing above and beyond, and I'm going to stay in my lane. That is how 2026 is going to be from here out. Either roll with me or I'm going to roll over you or around you. Whichever is easier.
Okay, she headed to the dance floor and she slowly starts out popping it. Song like my wrist piece, everybody got to watching it. Girl, you got that secret treasure, I'm gon' put a lock on it. Don't care what they say, I wouldn't stupid if we not on it.
Watch me flex. Before you take your first sip of coffee, you got to learn that no, it's not a rejection of the world. It is a violent, necessary act of love for yourself. Lately, my air has been thick with people trying it. They overstep, they do scope creep their way into my peace, trying to treat my time like a buffet they didn't pay for. But there's the one thing about building an empire. You don't do it being nice, you do it being clear. This week was a masterclass of victory of the no, whether it's to study a contractor with Google blocking her or holding the line on a marketing company, Social Link, out of Nashville and taking my stand on a SOW that wasn't. The result's the same, silence. And in that silence, I found my power again. If you aren't willing to protect my perimeter with the same ferocity you use to build, or let me rephrase that. I'm sorry, y'all. If I'm not willing to protect my perimeter with the same ferocity I used to build my business, I wouldn't be an entrepreneur. I would be a doormat. And I want to say right now, we don't do doormats at Dale's Angels, Inc. I'm going to continue to update my blessings list. These are not just feel-good quotes to post on a vision board. These are protocols for survival in a world that wants to drain you. You got to read them, you internalize them, or don't, but don't complain when you're exhausted. The first edition is anger is a termite for the heart. Letting go of rage makes you stronger, period. It frees up the CPU space you need to actually innovate. But let's be clear. Don't confuse my peace for weakness. I have let go of anger, but I haven't lost my aim. If you play me, I will throat punch you, metaphorically, legally, and professionally. I do choose peace, but I carry a sword you better recognize. Why be reflective if you don't change? I see people journaling and reflecting for years without moving an inch. That is a waste of ink and a waste of life. If your reflection doesn't lead to a pivot, you aren't being mindful. You're being self-indulgent. Be about that life, change the variable, or stop complaining about the result. Change can suck, but you still gotta adjust and just do it. Transition is messy, it's uncomfortable, it's supposed to be. You don't get a new version of life while holding on to the handles of the old one. Adjust your grip and keep moving. Hope is everything. It's the only thing. Think that's from Charles Ingalls on the 2.0 version of Little House in the Big Woods, but with better Wi-Fi and tactical gear. Hope isn't a wish, it's an anchor. It's the belief that the ridge is worth the climb. It's why we drink fresh roasted coffee even when the world feels stale. We keep the fire burning because the alternative is darkness. And I'm not built for the dark. Let go of what doesn't serve you. If it doesn't add to the empire, it's overhead, cut it. This applies to business contract, bad habits, people who only call when they need a withdrawal from your soul's bank account. Walking in my own light unapologetically. I stopped asking for permission to shine a long time ago. If my light is too bright for you, find some stunner shades or leave the room. I'm not dimming down to make your insecurity feel more comfortable. The envy protocol. Battling envy and jealousy is an absolute energy drain. If you are the source of envy, get yourself to therapy and figure out why you feel lacking. If someone else is the source, leave them on red and send them to voicemail. And/or, child, boundaries are the only cure for other people's projections. Self-love as safety. I don't hate myself enough to continue to put myself in harm's way. It's that simple. If a situation, a person, or a deal feels unsafe for my psyche, I'm out. Protecting my psychological safety isn't soft. It's the ultimate flex. When the noise gets too loud, I return to the ritual. Staying grounded, meditating, good coffee that I sell. The goal is to stay undisturbed. You can't lead if you are constantly reacting to the whims of people who haven't done the work. I build my walls high, I keep my coffee hot, and I might make sure my no is the loudest thing in the room. And that's the word right there. There is a specific kind of language spoken in the South, and it isn't just about the drawl or the hospitality. It's the language of the hustle. For some, hustle is a trend or a hashtag, but for those of us raised in the shadows of the valley, it was our primary dialect. It was the rhythm of our households before we even knew how to spell ambition. We didn't just learn how to work, we inherited the tactical drive required to survive a world that wasn't designed for our softness. The heritage I carry is a legacy of smarts and strength that provided everything except perhaps the one thing a child doesn't know how to ask for: psychological safety. My father was a man of profound intelligence. He didn't just move, he strategized. He navigated this world like it was always his master class and he was the professor. He had the intelligence of the hustle. He understood the mechanics of how things worked, not just the machines or businesses, but the subtle gears of social navigation. He had a way of being 3 steps ahead of a problem before it announced itself. From him, living and learn that smarts isn't just about what you know, it's about how you apply it when the pressure is on. It's the ability to pivot, to read the room, and to ensure that your presence is felt without having to raise your voice, which you kind of did with us, but that's another story. That type of drive is in my DNA. It's what I can't just vacation, I curate. It's why my podcast isn't just talk, it's systemic deconstruction of reality. And I got to correct that. But intelligence without emotional anchoring is just a high functioning engine with no steering. It gets you where you're going fast, but it doesn't tell you if you should be there in the first place. If my father provided the blueprints, my mother provided the foundation. She was powerful. Her strength wasn't the kind that needed to be flexed. It was the kind that simply was. It was quiet, immovable force that held structure together while the world outside tried to tear it down. I watched her weather storms. She taught me that strength isn't about shouting. Sometimes it's silence that follows the storm. But here's the nuance. When you are raised by giants, you learn to look up, but you don't always learn how to feel safe on the ground. You learn how to be strong, but you don't always learn how to be vulnerable. Love was a verb that was rarely spoken but constantly performed. I knew I was loved because the bills were paid, the table was set, and the path was cleared. I learned to love by observation. I watched how they moved, how they protected, and how they provided. I knew they loved me, but I didn't always hear it. There is a specific kind of emotional tax that comes with that. When love is something you have to decode through actions rather than hear in words, you become an expert at reading people. You develop a high level of emotional intelligence out of necessity. You become a fluent bully of your own emotions, or you learn how to do that, like I have had. I've done the work, and I continue to work on that. Demanding they perform, demanding they stay in line, and never quite allowing them to just exist. I realized later in life that neither of them really knew how to keep me psychologically safe. It's not a condemnation, it just is. They gave me the tools to survive the world, but they didn't have the blueprints for nurturing an inner world that felt secure without a shield. I loved them from a distance. Even when I was in the same room, it makes sense now that loving from afar was my first lesson in boundaries. As an adult, the journey hasn't been about rejecting the hustle or the strength. It's about building the psychological safety I had to learn to provide for myself. It's the realization that I can be smart and strong without being constantly on. Emotional intelligence for me is the ability to recognize when the hustle is actually just trauma in a suit. It's knowing when to lean into the drive and when to retreat into the quiet. I've had to learn how to create a shielded life, one where my peace is priority and my proximity is a privilege. This is why I find peace in maintaining distance. It's not about a lack of love. It's about the preservation of self. You can honor your roots while recognizing that you need different soil to truly bloom. I love my heritage, but I protect my peace with a ferocity that would make my ancestors proud. This personal evolution is exactly what informs my retreat. When I curated this experience, I wasn't just looking for a pretty location. I was looking to create a psychological safety that I had to build for myself. The retreat is a space where the hustle is paused, not because we aren't ambitious, but because we are intelligent enough to know that an empire built on burnout eventually collapses. The tactical luxury that allows you to set down your shield for a few days. We use the silence of the valley to help you hear your own voice again, not the voice of your father's expectations or your mother's strength, but your voice. We don't teach you how to relax. We teach you how to be safe in the stillness. Because once you know how to build that safety within yourself, you can take it back to the world. You can return to the hustle, but you do it with a soul that is undisturbed. Stay rooted, stay shielded, stay undisturbed. Let that be your mantra going into this.
Slow down the morning, speed up the soul. A world of flavor delivered whole. FB Roasters, your perfect cup, just a click away. Online, on time, oh so bold. Slow down the morning, speed up the soul. A world of flavor delivered whole. FB Roasters, your perfect cup, just a click away. A world of flavor delivered whole. FB Roasters, your perfect cup, just a click away. Roasters, your perfect cup, just a click away. FB Roasters, your perfect cup, just a click away.
The breath is the only bridge in between the rush you stepped away from and the quiet waiting here on the ridge. Golden light warms your skin, mist hugs the valley, and the gong hums beneath it all. You don't need an hour, you don't need a plan. You need these next few minutes and the willingness to come home to yourself. So settle in, let the place hold you, let your breath be the guide. Find your seat, root through your sit bones, lengthen your spine like the mountain behind you. Close your eyes if that feels right. Breathe in through your nose, low into the belly. Feel the ribs widen, chest follow. Hold for a beat, then release through your mouth, soft and long. Shoulders drop. Let each exhale be a little lighter than the last. Again, inhale, belly rises, ribs expand. Exhale, let go. One more full breath, steady and gentle. Keep the inhale slow, the exhale soften. Notice the gong beneath each cycle, steady and true. Now add movement with the breath. As you inhale, let your hands float up, palms open as if receiving light. Let the arms lift with ease, shoulders relaxed. On the exhale, guide the palms down, releasing anything heavy. Inhale, lift, feel space in the chest. Exhale, lower. Let tension melt toward the earth. Move slowly, 3 rounds, matching each rise and fall to the gong's cadence. Feel the rhythm build inside you. You're doing beautiful work just by breathing and moving. If you can, rise to standing, root your feet into the grass. Imagine roots reaching down. Inhale, sweep your arms overhead, palms facing the sky, lengthen through the spine. Hold the lift for a breath, then exhale and fold forward from the hips, head heavy, surrendering. Inhale to a flat back. Sweep up, open the chest wide, arms spread like wings. Exhale, fold again, move with intention. The valley holds your breath with you, the gong underscoring each expansion and release. One more standing breath. Inhale deep, arms open wide, chest fully expanding. Feel the lungs fill, the ribs open, the heart soften. Hold here, just hold, sink into the fullness. Notice any edges, breathe into them. The gong swells, carrying the pause. When you're ready, begin a long, slow exhale. Hinge forward, let the breath lead you down, hands to the earth or to your shins, wherever feels steady. Walk your feet back, fold softly, then with an inhale, rise up and return to a seat. Cross your legs gently, rest your hands on your knees, soften the face, close your eyes. Take a moment to notice the change in your body and mind. Now breathe naturally, belly rising, belly falling, no doing, no fixing, just presence. Let the gong fade like a thought drifting away while the calm stays. Carry this steadiness with you off the deck into the day. When your attention wanders, come back here to life, to the bridge of breath. Let calmness settle, soul of the
butterfly in the sky, I can go twice as high. So take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. I can go anywhere. Friends to know and ways to grow, a temporal rainbow. I can be anything. So take a look, it's in a book, a tenfold rainbow. A tenfold rainbow. A tenfold rainbow.
There is a particular silence that only exists when you're about 3,000 feet, when you're chilling in a glamping collective and you want to be and you strive to be in the right headspace. The air is thin enough to filter out the nonsense and cold enough to demand a proper brew. So this the portion of Tim Fro was reading, I'm just basically closing the loop on Georgia Young, or Dr. Georgia Young, and Terry McMillan's I Almost Forgot About You. This is a doctor, and it's so familiar, and this is why I added it to my retreats playlist or reading list. This woman is 50-something. She's an optometrist. She has a great job, who realizes her life is a series of comfortable good enoughs. So then she decides, just midlife, when I initially started reading what she intended to do, going back and giving a new meaning to circling the block without the sex just seemed off. And it just seemed kind of intrusive and very selfish. So I thought her quest was just peak selfishness. How do you drop back into the lives of the men who had long since moved on, scurrying into their domestic peace like a roach in the kitchen when the lights flick on? It just felt so disruptive to me. It felt like an ego trip disguised as a journey of self-discovery. And that's what probably Terry McMillan meant. You mean to tell me you want to disturb the dead? You wanted to rattle the skeletons of old romances just because you're bored with your own current clarity? But I took a shift once I got closer to going back out to the Clamping Collective, and once I was there, I realized that what I perceived as a roach-like disruption was actually a sophisticated closure protocol. She wasn't looking to rekindle anything. She was looking to calibrate. We often carry the weight of what happened like an invisible backpack sometimes. Only way to drop the weight is to walk back to the source and just to leave it there. It wasn't just about closure to her. It ended up being a recalibration for her too. This is the geometry: straight lines, no jagged edges, and the courage to look at your past self without flinching. And then once I cleared the air with her, I basically am going to start reading, and this is an upcoming episode. I plan on reading Singing in the Comeback Choir. This is B.B. Moore Campbell's, about Maxine McCoy and her architecture for the future. This is a character in that particular book. She is returning to her roots. It's not as compelling and as relaxing as my return to my roots and regrouping. Her journey, high gloss, low substance. She goes from high gloss, low substance world of LA production back to the grit and grace of her Philadelphia choir, which is a masterclass on not only she healing, but her community is healing. And that's why I paired the both and put them actually on the reading list for my retreat, Soul of the Valley. Both of these books are middle-aged Black women's quest for healing, and it's right along with what I'm trying to do on my own quest for healing. So navigate to my Far From Beale Street bookstore on bookshop.org and let me know in the comments for the podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, that is, which books do you think I should add and which books do you think I should flush from? My apologies to Henry Mancini, but a riff on the Pink Panther theme is in alignment with a podcast segment dedicated to a fictional PI and all about true crime, or fictional crime in this case. Don't you think? I am coming off from the high of getting all my money back from a $7,000 bait and switch ad scam of epic proportion through the work of Meta, PayPal, and American Express. I got all my scratch back. It was a hassle, but it was also a learning experience that I'm grateful that I came out positively on the other end. But this particular part of the podcast is a segment that I've been doing for a while now, scams. And this is a continuation of last week, scam, the golden age of the grift. This is the second part of that. And it's fascinating because the scammers are getting scammed. I thought I was doing the most when I actually turned off my silent spam calls on AT&T Super Caller ID. And because I was like, most days I just like to fuss. Put me on. I need to fuss. However, these spammers, they don't come at a steady pace. They arrive in unpredictable waves, moving from weeks of quiet to an overwhelming flood. I'm basically going off of, this is from Bloomberg, the July 13th, 2026, where the core theme is the relentless low-level noise of everyday spam text. These hoes don't call you anymore, and I'm wondering if her homegirl from Toronto is going to text me back because she was just saying, do you want to come over for dinner? And I was like, who is this? Because my scammy cousin from New York wished me so sorry for the death of my dog. And I'm like, how you know that? It's been since May. Now you popping up. Girl, get out my face. I don't really care. But anyways, now they don't call, they texting. It is job offers, fear of urgency, aggressive fake legal threats, the final court order, mandatory collection notice. They keep texting me about an Audi I've never owned, wrong number, social engineering. They basically ask friendly questions, and their only thing is to waste your time. But that when I got them, I'm like, who is this? Before I block you, please identify yourself. And they get off real quick. And they try to ask you where you're from, trying to get personal details. And I give them just as vague as possible. And I basically said, you need to talk to Eli because you trying to cook some beefsteaks and spaghetti. You need to go and get up so nothing is overcooked. Anyways, there is even more. People are actually doing the most, even more than me just taking my silence call back, button off to fuss. People actually are going the long mile because wasting a scammer's time, engaging them on purpose, and attempting to reverse the dynamic of the fraudsters. So these are the people that you're trying to defraud. They basically have started fighting back. They use the psychological toll of modern scamming isn't just financial loss. It's the constant baseline irritation of filtering out legal threats, fake jobs, deceptive texts. They have actually shifted from a niche internet subculture into a popular outlet for public frustration against fraud networks. They got whole podcasts, y'all, and YouTube channels dedicated to the potentially defrauding, scam baiting the scammers. It's kind of dope.
Let's calibrate the frequency on this one. The swamp is crowded, full of underfed, frozen-faced predators, snapping at marbles, desperate to be the chosen editors. They call it a lifestyle, but the game is just a rigged simulation. A no-win test designed to force a toxic confrontation. But the operator arrived with a full-blown session. No damsel in this room, no victim waiting for a cape. Just a mogul in the shadows, measuring the shape.
Welcome back to The Waste of Bandwidth, the show where a 54-year-old top-earning Black woman sitting in Chattanooga, Tennessee, well, I'm in Trenton, Georgia right now, turns off the fluff, ignores the PR scripts, and tells you what Bravo is really selling us. Today, we are flushing away the performative influencers and calling out the white noise delusion wasting our energy. Even with the stinker of Shamia flub, I'm just going to make some observations. You guys got to tune in to the Monday Night Live where the breakdown with Carlos King, Blue Toulousma, who is an amazing emotional intelligence and ego death coach, C Murder, Claudia Jordan, and Dustin Ross, to basically get the true breakdown of marriage, Love and Marriage, Huntsville, The Bells. And this past episode of The Bells was a trip. Little bit of a snoozer. Check out what they got to say on Monday. But also, DJ Richie Sky also broke down that. But so I'm not going to make a whole bunch of commentary on this past episode of Real Housewives of Atlanta. I'm just going to make some observations. They're all dogpiling on Shamia, but has anybody noticed how Drew Sidora is morphing into Portia Williams? When she first came on during 2020, 2019, she was,
Am I glad to see you?
she had a definite aesthetic, y'all. And why is this dimming? But anyways, it was defined by a natural classic style. Her focus of her storyline was heavily centered on her acting career and navigating her family dynamic with her now ex-husband, Ralph. She presented as grounded, girl next door figure in the often chaotic world of Atlanta. But she was still cosplaying and the most highly paid gig that she has had in years, even outside the gang, even outside of her child acting. Her era as Go Naked Hair first was in 2023 before Portia fired her. She was gaining her footing on reality TV. Drew leaned heavily into her entrepreneurship. Her style evolved to reflect her brand. She was shifting toward glamorous, direct, and trend-focused branding. Much of her on-screen time focused on building her empire and marketing her hair extensions and wig lines with Portia, again, before she got fired. She noticeably had some shifts in her face, makeup and facial contouring that really started to mirror Portia's. She was more assertive, unbothered attitude compared to her early emotional seasons, and she got a new stylist. I don't know if both her and Portia grabbed Kelly's stylist because Kelly couldn't afford him anymore, but she started wearing chic and tailored blazers, massive Go Naked branded hoop earrings, high ponytails, and bold bodycon fashion. And then you notice that she really is the blueprint for all things Portia. If you're completely going to overhaul your look and persona to thrive on Real Housewives of Atlanta, you best study the master. Portia literally defined the modern Atlanta housewife aesthetic. Bone straight, 24-inch bust down the middle part unit, dramatic sculpted to perfection glam and fillers, seamless shift from innocent, reserved, traditional trophy wife of Cordell Stewart, to an unbothered, bodycon wearing, shade throwing mogul. When Drew first joined in season 13, she was given wholesome actress trying to save her marriage. Fast forward to now. Divorce. She's fully stepped into that Go Naked Hair, single and fabulous, high glam Portia energy. If you can't beat him, morph into him. But you best believe if your energy becomes soul sapping like it is with Shamia, Portia go sit you down real quick. Ask Shamia. If you are tired of hearing think pieces on the demise of Shamia and Portia's not friendship, raise your hand. Imagine me raising my hand. This is it for me, unless something dramatically changes in the upcoming episodes before the reunion. What can Shamia do to close this chapter on this one-sided dynamic that was the non-relationship between her and Portia Williams? I talked about in the previous episode how one of the castmates is morphing into Portia Williams because she's cosplaying as what a reality star should be. Why can't Shamia walk into her own life instead of trying to stand in somebody else's life? Why can't she be organically just a friend to Kelly instead of trauma bonding over their hatred for Portia Williams? Granted, Portia Williams done some dirty shit, but this ongoing battle and the fight between the mamas is below both of them. For years, there was an unwritten narrative was that Shamia owed Portia for bringing her onto the Bravo orbit. She was there in that first not so glamorous society party when it's season 5 when both her and Kenya were introduced. Now she's actually a full-time peach holder, which proves that the producers want Shamia for who she is, not just because she's a supporting character and sidekick. She doesn't need Portia's stamp of approval. Portia ain't gonna give it. She don't want you there, girl, as equally a peach holder. She doesn't need Portia's permission to take up space in the group, but she ain't gonna play in Portia's face either. From being a no-show at major life events to failing to defend her during past cast rumors, Portia has repeatedly shown where her boundaries are. Shamia's like that man, that little kid, please, sir, can I have some water? She's moving on means accepting people for their track record than for their actual potential. She needs to basically decouple her self-worth from Portia's validation, because this stops with there's endless cycle expectation and being disappointed. And we are tired of the victimization, girl. Shamia brings a completely different energy to the ensemble. She has a grounded family, high-profile corporate hosting events, and an unbeat, unbothered presence that she doesn't have to be performative. She just is that girl, and she is gorgeous. Instead of getting pulled into nostalgic high school level scorekeeping, why can't she just lean into her own lifestyle, career, and humor? This allows her to build a standalone fan base that loves her for her, rather than a half of a fractured duo. The days of her pussy popping on a headstand in Miami are gone. She's hosting probably a mansion that she owns, and Portia was only renting for clout. She needs to give up the sidekick energy and walk into the peach that she is holding now. What can she do now? How can she cement her life without some ill-fated rum, peach rum that does not make sense? Mango rum, yes. Peach, not so much. But she just has to learn. She has a light that needs to shine brightly, and she doesn't need anybody else to validate it. She needs to basically, one, pick her battles, but also just own her ish, because that's what veterans do. That's why, even though you can say, Portia said some whack mess about Charles, but she owned it. She said, girl, I was tripping. Please accept my apology. Shamia basically was like, I only laughed and I can't understand why you still mad because you just didn't own it. Own it and move on. You may get read a couple of times by Angela, but just own it. And that's all she has to do. We're going to see, because this victimization is getting old. It is showing up on screen as weak, and I know she's not. And she's dimming her light because she doesn't know. She's blind. How is she blinded by her own light? That's just crazy. When is she going to realize that she is special outside of Portia's light, which is undeniable? When is she going to realize that she also is a star and she can shine bright in her own and walk in her own truth? And that's what's going to make her a reality star with staying power. I didn't think I was actually going to need to record another segment of the Shamia of it all, but this part of waste of bandwidth, it's a trip, y'all. I've been very confused over the last couple of episodes of Real Housewives of Atlanta because I see Shamia crying the perpetual victim. I see her play her mama's trump card, and I'm watching her basically flounder and flail. And I'm seeing the other girls pile on to Shamia, but it's like somebody has chummed the water and they all are attacking, like circling like sharks. I don't want to call them hyenas because I think sharks are beautiful and hyenas are ugly. And it's a Shark Week is coming up, so there you go. But I'm also waiting on my charger after having a great weekend at the Glamping Collective, so I feel inspired. Well, I don't feel so inspired. I was thinking about talking about Heart and Hustle Houston, but it just appears that didn't really feel all that inspired. I'm still very confused about it. Seems to be kind of performative. And I keep looking at Chloe's finger waves lifting, and I'm like saying, you need to have a beauty lesson with Marie Monroe from Bell Collective Jackson, but I digress still. I say all of that to say is, before I left the Glamping Collective this morning, I was on YouTube and I was not only looking at my ad for an upcoming retreat and how it was doing and making some adjustments to it, but I also saw, and I don't think I've seen this, I've seen clips of reunions before, but this was really a true trailer where it was heavily produced. The glam was there. Everybody breastises was out. And some of the glam looked kind of tacky. I'm sorry, but I like Pinky Cole. I think she brings a different dynamic to the show. And I hope my sister, if she ever were to listen to my podcast, and I don't think she does, every time they say, when Guy Fieri always says, this has a different dynamic, that means the food he's tasting is nasty. And he's just trying to be nice for the camera, but I digress. She looked like Big Bird in that, all of that green getup and those feathers. What really tripped me out is the fact that she said the only advice that she was given is to go ahead and pee when she needs to. And that makes me think, plus everybody always says that her and her husband are getting it in. So I think she's probably the one that is pregnant. And she probably is fertile and she's not even trying, which is wild to me. But anyways. And the first thing I thought that reunion looked really sedate. It looked like it started out like everybody was in their place and the seating chart makes no sense to me because why does K. Michelle have the first seat and she did nothing for the entire season? I'm like, okay, girl, whatever. But what it really made me think is, what if Shamia stopped being a tragic victim, perpetual tragic victim, And what if she actually just raised her hand and said, look, I just haven't been on some BS for the past 2 seasons. I've been on some BS for the last 10 years. Think about how liberating that would be for us, the audience. For a decade, her entire storyline was built on playing sidekick, thirsting for Portia's validation, and then crying foul whenever the dynamic turns on her. If she just owned her part, owned the mess, owned the clout chasing, and stopped acting like a victim of circumstances she willingly signed up for, she could finally step out of Portia's shadow, because Portia don't play easy. She hits, she's strong as hell, and she gonna punch you in the face. If you're willing to go to hell, she's willing to go below Hades. So if you ain't about that life, Shamia, take accountability. And then you can walk into your own light unfettered. You'll gain actual respect from the viewers. And most importantly, you'll stop annoying us. But until you drop the victim card, her holding that piece is just another waste.
Yes, that's true.
This delusion is not a good thing. And maybe I'm inspired because I am in probably one of the most beautiful places on earth. I like being up here at the Glamping Collective. I like seeing the mountains. But I'm also missing my house. I like being in the valley because it just is. I mean, I work hard for what I have. But this section just hits differently because I know there are better podcasters that can do a better job, and they have done a better job. Shout out to Carlos King, even that Bubble Lip, Alexis Bellino. Shout out to Blue Toulousma, Claudia C. Murder Jordan, and Dustin Ross, one of the finest gay men on the planet. I just don't understand, but so be it. He is on the other side, and he will tell you he's proud of it. I dig it. But they do a better job of summarizing the shows. I'm just going to basically give my little 50-cent worth because that's what I do in this part of the podcast. And I'm inspired by all this beauty in front of me. But let's open up the server and clear out the trash, y'all. Welcome to the Waste of Bandwidth, the segment where we name, shame, and disconnect reality stars using up my high-speed gigabytes to deliver absolutely freaking nothing. Tonight, we got a full inbox of delusion. We are diving into part 1 of In the City Reunion, where Amanda Caroline Cronin thinks she can give us a sanitized PR lives while Lindsay acts like a middle school kid pushing Kenny on a playground because she can't stomach Whitney getting a $30,000 closet while she's still hustling in all her white privilege. Plus, we are flushing season 20 of OC and the Trace Amigas right down the drain, because if Tamra is walking on eggshells for sensitive amateurs, my Wi-Fi is officially logged off. Strap in, turn off your auto-renew subscriptions, and let's talk about who is officially wasting our band. Let's start with part 1 of the reunion that was a complete exercise in brain rot. Watching a bunch of 30 and 40-somethings pretend that avoiding real life in Manhattan and the Hamptons is a full-time job is hard enough, but the forced dynamics make it practically unwatchable. I'm talking about the In the City first reunion with a bunch of hooey. Nobody logged on to watch Amanda spin half-truth, sanitize corporate lies, and fake boss babe narrative. She looked like a person that was blazing up with Snoop Dogg and lost. That narrative control while dodging every real question about her life. They were playing in my face and I did not like it. The playground, schoolyard crush delusion. Lindsay is out here giving Kenny a hard time for one reason and one reason only. She's acting like a middle school kid on the playground who teases and pushes the boys she actually likes. All that aggressive, unprovoked energy toward Kenny is just low-key projection. Lindsay can't stand Whitney, and why is she fronting when basically Whitney called it for what it was? She was trying to use white girl mama privilege, and Whitney clocked it, but she was too spineless to actually go toe-to-toe with Whitney. And the root of her rage is pure envy. In Lindsay's mind is how dare Kenny move Whitney across the country, cater to her every single whim, and build her a $30,000 closet in his house while I, in all of my white privilege, am still out here hustling on these streets. She hates seeing someone else get the princess treatment she's trying to secure for years. Lindsay tries so hard to pull off that unbothered, high glam Portia Williams energy. And Carlos King actually said it in today's recap of the reunion. She is the white Portia, but she is the trailer trash PWT white Portia. It completely falls flat because it's totally forced. It's loud. It's exhausting. And at 54, with a real career, real checks coming in, watching grown adults act this delusional in New York is a total waste of bandwidth. We are 20 years in the first series of Real Housewives. I don't think it's been this boring since the first season of this show. I'm talking about the snooze fest that is the season 20 of The Real Housewives of OC. It should have been a landmark victory. Instead, Bravo delivered a watered-down, castrated version of reality TV. Look at Tamra Judge. Usually the ultimate dirty work producer is sitting there walking on eggshells because the rest of the cast is far too fragile to handle actual OC shade. I can see growth, but when Tamra has to play nice because everyone else will cry to HR, the show loses its only pulse, and it's repulsive. The whole Trace Amigas dynamic needed to be retired 5 seasons ago. When Vicky left and when they fired Tamra and then nobody talked to her, that's when they should have let it sleeping dogs lie. Y'all just flush them down the toilet along with the rest of the forced group scenes, because that in the Weeping Woman, whatever that restaurant is, was so performative and was so stupid. And Shannon Bedore, what is her name?
Mother's always had a turn for dress up.
I don't even know her name. I just know I like her dogs. And rest in peace, Archie. But Shannon kick rocks. The only reason to even glance at the screen was the genuine, grounded reality of Jen Pedranti and her son Grayson, alongside the actual unfiltered dynamic between Tamra and Teddy Mellencamp. That was real human life. The rest was just over-glam background noise who won't admit that they take Ozempic. What's her name? Emily. Is that her name? Emily? And the rest of the BS. Maybe if they let Carmela loose and Emily stops fronting and just eat the turkey sandwich that she put in her purse 3 seasons ago, maybe it will liven things up. Bravo keeps trying to sell performative influencers, fake luxury, and oversensitive cast members to a demographic of grown, successful, top-earning women, me, who can see straight through the BS. If they aren't going to give us real substance, they can keep it. And I can watch something else. Ciao. The story behind Real Housewives of London cast lineage and the long road it took to get to Bravo over a decade in the making, connecting directly back to Bravo's fan favorite predecessor, Ladies of London. And even after messy ass what's his name? Andy Cohen said, "Oh, it'll never come. There'll never be a Real Housewives of London." And here it is. Technically, the Real Housewives of London took about 11 years to finally materialize as an official Real Housewives franchise. In 2014, Bravo launched Ladies of London in June of that year. While produced in the exact same docuseries format as The Housewives, Network's executive chose not to brand it under the Real Housewives umbrella at the time. Thank you, Andy Cohen. Position it instead as an aristocratic, cross-cultural lifestyle show. 2017, 2024. After Ladies of London ended in 2017, fans spent years demanding Real Housewives of London, while the UK got localized spin-offs like Real Housewives of Cheshire, then Real Housewives of Jersey on ITV. I want to see that. An official flagship London series backed directly by NBC Universal Hey You wasn't greenlit until late 2024. Then in 2025-2026, Hey You officially commissioned and launched season 1 in August 2025 as its first ever original series produced by UTAS UK Productions. Behind the team behind Made in Chelsea, which I also have not seen. In July of 2026, the first season officially made its U.S. premiere. And I watched the first season and I had questions. Julia Angus, Chicago native turned West London socialite and fashion publicist. Main cast member from all 3 seasons. Oh, that's where I know her from. Of Ladies of London. She serves as the core bridge connecting the original 2014 era to the current franchise. There's Juliet Mayhew, Australian-born former Miss Galaxy Universe. She is Real House of Dubai connection, best friends with the star Carolyn Stansberry, who also starred alongside her, Juliet Angus, in Ladies of London. Then there's Amanda Carolyn Cronin, former model, Belgravia Aesthetics clinic owner, and beauty founder. She's connected with Real Housewives of Salt Lake and Roni. She knows Meredith Marks from that franchise and Dorinda Medley. They both make a cameo appearance in this season. There's Karen Loderick Peace, the only Black woman, Jamaican-born luxury property owner. She's married to Jeremy Peace, the prominent former chairman and owner of West Bromwich Albion Premier League Football Club. And we all have watched Brazil with Papa in Argentina, but that's a story for another day. There's Nessie Waschlinger. She is the former head of equity at Schroeder's, and she is founder of the Chelsea Cake Company, who famously baked one of Queen Elizabeth II's official 90th birthday cakes. And she appeared on Bake Off The Professionals. And then there's my annoying Panthea Parker, Iranian-born North London socialite. She's been a fixture in the elite Mayfair scene since the 1990s, known for partying at Annabelle's with global A-listers, and she name drops to everyone's annoyance, including mine. Bravo and NBC Universal held off on an official Real Housewives of London title for a decade due to complex international licensing contracts. In the mid-2010s, ITV held exclusive UK broadcast rights for local format adaptations. It wasn't until NBC Universal's international streaming platform, Hey You, grew into a global reality juggernaut that the studio reclaimed the rights to commission an official Real Housewives flagship in the UK capital. The result is a show that blends aristocratic, old-money microaggressions of Ladies of London with aggressive, fast-paced conflict of modern Real Housewives. This is already going to get on my nerves because Panthea is the real Karen of this series. Her status anxiety is one of her most noticeable traits. While she boasts about her husband, Edmund Parker's legal career, proudly referring to herself as Mistress Solicitor, her social behavior often betrays a deep-seated need to prove her status. She frequently talks about her 1990s Mayfair party days, casually dropping that she was on billionaire yachts or at Elton John parties, while simultaneously admitting she's never held down a job. Viewers pointed out the irony of her boasting about getting selfies with royals or attending events at Buckingham Palace while framing herself as a high society elite, a mix of high-class posturing and should be on Desperate Housewives, clout chasing that reads as a textbook social climbing. She's the classic classicist. Accusation really catches fire in her treatment of Karen Loderick Peace, who is outclassed and out-moneyed her. Karen is married to a former Premier League club owner and holds undeniable, massive wealth. She got that money. Panthea's persistent microattacks against Karen, along with derogatory remarks made alongside her mother during group events, it's just nasty work. Panthea seemed deeply uncomfortable with a Black woman in the circle, holding a higher socioeconomic tier and more effortlessly. Karen is grounded than she is. Instead of engaging naturally, Panthea constantly tried to talk down to Karen, or she picks unprovoked fights. This is classic defensive elitism from someone who feels her own social standing is fragile. Her attempt to mask her elitist digs under the guise of just being real, telling home truths, and having no filter is just disgusting, because she tries so hard to perform society matriarch while aggressively picking fights over petty grievances like Teethgate with Juliet Mayhew. She ends up coming across less like old money London royalty and more like a loud, status-obsessed striver who is terrified about being outclassed. The friction between Amanda, who also is very fake and plastic, she is struggling between her public presentation and reality that makes her so performative to viewers. And she is. Amanda loves to lean into her beauty empire, Amanda Carolyn Skincare, and her Belgravia Wellness Clinic, The Secret Door. Her season 1 tagline literally reads, "I look like a model, but I think like a CEO." She is giving Pinky Cole vibes, and her TED Talks is going to make me want to punch her in the face. Instead of coming across as an authentic, grounding businesswoman, her corporate posturing feels like a boss babe facade. She speaks in highly reserved PR sound bites rather than having raw, candid conversations with the group. Her entire vibe, from her confessional looks to her pristine Belgravia clinic, is hyper-filtered. In a franchise where fans respond to authentic messiness or eccentric old money charm, like Carol Radazaville, who's also coming back, and Dorinda, who I think is on that Golden Girls show, Amanda's refusal to show a single hair out of place makes her feel emotionally impenetrable and cold. When other women on the cast attempt to go deeper with her, she defaults to a rigid, smiling wall of toxicity-free, born-again spiritual platitudes that leave the rest of the room completely detached and annoyed and bored. Much like past housewives who were accused of being overly calculated, Amanda treats the camera like a corporate presentation. She's hyper-aware of her angles, constantly drops her high society connections, Meredith Marks and Dorinda Metley, and tries to dictate scenes. Because of her old friendship with fellow castmate Juliet Angus blew up years before filming started, her refusal to generally engage in conflict, preferring instead to act above it all, comes off as cold, calculating, and deeply inauthentic to everybody else. We, the audience, and her castmates share the exact side eye. Amanda wants all the perks of being elite, untouchable London matriarch without showing any of the actual human flaws, vulnerabilities, or mess that make a reality TV star relatable. Nessie Wilsanger brings a completely unique and controlled energy. She went from high finance to cakes. Nessie spent a decade in the high stakes, cutthroat world of corporate finance. She was the global head of equity at Schroders. And she seems kind of uptight because in global finance, you deserve by being analytical, assessing risk, and keeping your emotions strictly under control. On reality TV set where women like Penthea and Amanda are screaming, dropping names, or staging over-the-top drama, Nessie often looks like she's calculating risk rather than reacting, which is going to play in her favor if she does it right. She processes scenes like a hedge fund trader watching an erratic market shift. While viewers often expect cake makers to be jolly and bubbly TV personalities, Nessie operates her business as a high-concept, bespoke couture luxury brand. Her company, Chelsea Cake Company, doesn't operate a storefront bakery where she eats cake all day. It's high-end, event-driven luxury venture that bakes for private, ultra-high net worth clients. Hollywood Productions and royalty fameless, as I said, baking Queen Elizabeth II's 90th birthday cakes. Before joining the set, she competed on Bake Off. That level of high-pressure precision baking requires intense focus, perfectionism, and endurance, traits that make a person seem serious, reserved, and incredibly composed on camera. Her tagline is they say you can't have your cake and eat it too. I say, watch me. I'm okay with that. She splits her time between her Chelsea home and a 100-year-old Cotswold estate and her family, and then she doesn't need to fight for screen time or perform for validation like her co-stars. Her pensive look is often just the face of a woman who realizes she left the stress of managing millions in corporate equity only to watch adult women fight over table seating and party invitations. Karen Loderick Peace is considered the undisputed brick art star of The Real Housewives of London because she doesn't even try. Her elegance and wealth are completely effortless. But the contrast between her and Amanda and Penthea highlights the difference between liquid generational security and status anxiety of those two white girls. Well, one white girl and one Iranian girl who thinks she's white. Karen's financial foundation is fundamentally on a different tier than the others. She's married to Jeremy Peace. As I stated, he is in that money. Amanda is high-flying lifestyle is reliant on a divorce settlement and heavily tied to the success of her business ventures. Penthea has never worked a job, and her husband is a corporate law partner. Solid, upper-class London, but nowhere near Premier League team owner wealth. Karen commands a screen because her glamour is organic rather than manufactured. She moves with quiet confidence of someone who knows exactly who she is. Her style leans into understated, high-end luxury rather than heavily branded or hyper-filtered fashion. Both Amanda and Penthea suffer from looking overstyled for reality TV. Amanda's hyper-curated, rigid look gives off artificial frozen, while Penthea's styling often leans loud to overcompensate for her status. Anxiety. In high society circles, the loudest person in the room is usually the most insecure. Because Karen holds legitimate, undisputed wealth, she doesn't feel the need to prove anything to the group. She sits back, she listens, and only speaks when necessary, which makes Penthea's desperate microaggressions and Amanda's corporate sound bites look transparent and shallow. She doesn't need a reality show to validate her life. She's just along for the ride. The stupidity of the feud between Panthea and Juliet is just dumb. Juliet is loud and boisterous. Panthea is uptight, but the dislike goes deeper than the volume. Panthea is also jealous of Juliet. Panthea famously launched a campaign against Juliet's physical appearance, making unprovoked derogatory comments about her smile and her veneers. Dubbed by the fans and the cast as Teethgate. Who cares? When Juliet refused to take the insult sitting down and loudly clapping back, Panthea immediately played the victim, framing Juliet's loud reaction as aggressive and unrefined when she started it. Juliet brings a direct, unfiltered, highly animated Australian energy into the rooms where Panthea demands quiet deference to her. To someone like Panthea, who uses status as a weapon, Juliet's loud laugh, open demeanor, and refusal to walk on eggshells reads as a crass and un-London. Panthea looks down on her as unpolished outsider who doesn't respect the high society and social hierarchy Panthea works so hard to maintain. And she ain't even a part of it. Her husband got money, but she ain't got Juliet's or Karen's money. Also, Juliet Mayhew is best friends with the ultimate Bravo royalty, Carolyn Stansbury, and the direct line to international reality TV royalty. Juliet is an effortless social legitimacy that Panthea can't manufacture with all her Mayfair name dropping. Panthea hates that a woman she considers uncouth holds easier, more organic social access than she does. Panthea dislikes Juliet just because Juliet represents everything Panthea fears. She's loud, unbothered, takes up space without asking permission, and completely refuses to bow down to Panthea's self-appointed role as arbiter of high society. She's annoying. I can't stand it. Her tagline as a true Londoner, I don't sip tea, I spill it. The moment she opens her mouth, she claims true Londoner status, which immediately sets up a hypocritical foundation given the reality of her background and behavior. She relies heavily on her true Londoner identity as to gatekeep the rest of the group, trying to position herself as the ultimate authority on British manners and decorum, sneering at Juliet and the two Juliets as uncouth outsiders when they both outrank her in likability. She's just delusional as the mistress solicitor. The bottom line is Panthea wants the cultural clout and the automatic moral authority of being old money London royalty, but her actions scream insecure status chaser, which she is. Starting off her reality TV debut, claiming to be a true Londoner while acting like a Mayfair mean girl is why the audience clocked her performative posturing from the episode 1 that I saw. And I don't think I need her on my screen. I'm going to just have to wait for whoever is going to just comment on the episodes because maybe I will watch episode 2. But if it's much more like this nonsense of episode 1, I have to clock out. For real, for real. You can take the girl out of the hood, but you can't take hood music out the girl. But I'm going to end this with a word, just as I started this podcast. Do or do not do. There is no try. And that's a word from Yoda. I hope I have conveyed just how much fun I have had in creating this podcast. I've got my mojo back. Just set your intention or reset your intention. It could be daily if necessary. Mine is peace. No mental dumping over here. If I'm acting like I'm not listening, I'm probably not. I'm not your therapist. I'm not a therapist. Keep the crazy to yourself, child. You do you and leave me be. The sooner you figure that ish out, the happy you will be. So this is what I want to convey in this podcast. And that wraps another of FAFFO has a fro. Join me next time as I throw shade and point out the shade and simply have fun. Y'all have a great new year. What, y'all? What?